مرحبا بكم. أنا اسمي Diko Di Andrew, and this is another episode of the Youth Pulse podcast. And on today's topic, we are going to be tackling an interesting one in which we are tackling the sport as one of the career opportunities. Like in Diamond, and I got Nagulakum Itakan man like, I'll subscribe, I'll share, I'll follow page Tana for YouTube. Make sure that you do that because when it comes to Youth Pulse podcast, it's a lot for you to handle when it comes to speaking from our heart. Today, I'm having an amazing guest in which it will always be good for them to be introducing themselves. So let's dive in and welcome our guest. My guest.
All right, my name is Rohana Ayak Malwal. I'm a student from University of Juba, pursuing a degree in psychology, and I am a basketballer. I also have a background in athletics. I'm a runner. I do long race. That was my first sport.
Okay, you're welcome, Adriana.
Okay, my name is Deng John Marial. I'm a sports analyst at iRadio, and I have a very long background of playing sports, particularly football. And in my high school days, I used to also dabble a little bit in basketball as well. So I'm familiar with so many sports-related disciplines.
Okay, interesting. زي ما قلنا لكم الليلة بنتكلم عن الرياضة، ما بس بالضروري باسكتبول، ما بالضروري حيكون بس عن كرة قدم، لكن حنتكلم كثير عن الرياضة في جنوب السودان. But when it comes to a sport as a career, like when it comes to South Sudanese, it's not rare for people to be taking a sport as a career. I don't know, like, what do you guys think about it?
Yeah, I think sports is at a very crucial stage in the country at the moment.
Yes.
Because if you look at the development of the games themselves, you would say we are not at the point where so many people can say, okay, we can comfortably earn a living from playing or partaking in the different sort of sports. So, but at the end of the day, the young people have the interest in the sports, and in the long run, we will get there. We'll get to a point where people will be earning their living from undertaking sports, but at the moment it's the passion that will have to drive us there until the facilities are provided for the young people to be able to participate regularly and to be able to earn a living from participating in sports.
Okay, Rana?
All right, just to add on what she has said, it was back in the days when sport was not taken as something serious in South Sudan. We're lacking maybe support from our elders. But like after understanding and seeing also South Sudan making us proud in different varieties of sport, people are now taking it serious, and you can also have like opportunities outside or actually within the country. So right now sport is trending, and we believe that we have the skill, and also like it's just like a gift to us as South Sudanese.
Okay, interesting. For you, Deng, you mentioned about passion earlier on in the intro that we had. But now, how can a young individual influence their passion so that they can build a sustainable career in terms of sport as well?
I think it's all about hard work, because when you have the passion, a lot of people might tell you that, you know what, you're going down the wrong path. You're not going to benefit anything from what you're doing. And especially the females might experience stuff like, girls are not supposed to play sports. But at the end of the day, it's your passion that will keep you doing whatever it is that you're doing, because you know that eventually you will benefit from it in one way or the other, even if it is not directly from having to earn a living from it. But I think passion is the key at the moment, because like I said, we do not have the facilities to make a living out of sports like the rest of the world is doing. So it is just down to how much you love the particular game that keeps you waking up every morning and deciding to go to that court or to that football ground or to whatever the place is to play that sports. It is because you love it. It is not because you're expecting to be paid from it. And it is from that love that you can eventually develop into a professional athlete. So without the love, there would be no professional athletes out there.
Okay. For me, like earlier, some years back, I mentioned this in the last podcast, in which I was having the passion to play basketball, and I was thinking like, I'm going to be in the NBA. I'll be participating in this and that when it comes to basketball as a sport. But what killed my passion, I had a problem with my dad. That's why like I end up like saying like I'm not doing basketball anymore. So I don't know, it's still, don't you think there are some more effects that always come to the young people who are having really passion and the energy to go for sport, but there are some other things that also kill their passion when it comes to sport.
Yeah, definitely. I think that problem is a problem that so many South Sudanese people out there face, especially the young girls.
Yes.
Because sports is deemed to be a male dominated field, and so most people will, without thinking about it, discourage their girls from participating in sports, but it is completely false, because the moment you encourage everyone to participate freely, they can become successful in it eventually. And I usually like to say this, that the only way we can show that to the parents that sports can make a successful person is for them to start seeing the benefits as early as possible. And that's why I appeal to usually the schools out there to give or to provide support to people who are excellent in sports. For example, offer them a half scholarship or a full scholarship. If a child, for example, if a young Diko went home to her father and said, you know what, Dad, you don't have to pay the full school fees anymore because I'm playing basketball, the school has said I can only pay half. Then your father will begin to think, oh, there's actually benefit in what Diko is doing. And so eventually, all the other parents or every other parent will realize that sports is not a waste of time after all. My child can benefit from now. That means even in the future there are people who can see her potential and make her benefit from it. So I think that's the part that needs to be done in order to change the narrative, to make the parents out there begin to look at sports as a possible source of income, as opposed to just a pastime where people are going to get hurt or even go astray from their dreams.
Okay, that's nice. Adrina, Deng mentioned something about gender, and you are heading the women team for South Sudan, and as well you are playing for Federation, and I feel like there are many titles that come with your name as well. But when it comes to women and sport, there are a lot of stories that come around. I don't know, like how have you been going through or like weighing yourself out in terms of the gender and everything about the gender in terms of sports?
Okay, thank you so much. Just to share my story, as a lady, as a young girl who was growing up loving sport, of course, there was the gender norms that ladies are not supposed to do this. And especially with my first sport that I picked, that was running. So, you know, with running, it makes you lose weight and there's a way you look and which it is not like their thing. So as I kept doing what I love, and when they saw that I am actually excelling in that field, I always travel out, I always win medals. Slowly their mind was changed, and they actually believe that it's not just only the male staffs, it actually applies to everyone. So with my parents, it was hard, you know, to explain. I couldn't just explain, but I have to give my best in what I was doing for them to see in, you know, in action, not just telling them, you know, you see, then if you show them the Khawajat and, you know, these ladies are running, doesn't make sense to them. And beside that, with my first sport that I picked, there were not like histories of ladies who have met records. It was mostly men. Like the first Olympic that South Sudan participated in was in 2016 in athletics, and the gold medal that came back home, it was from a man. Then we had no ladies like participating in that. But after them seeing me traveling, there were a lot of ladies also in the national team. Then also diverting to basketball. As you know, we were growing, they were like, okay, let's just allow her to do what she loves. I think this is her gift. So from there, they had to kill their gender stuff, the gender norms.
And as for today, we can take you as an example of a success story of someone who pursued athletics and becoming taking it as a profession in their life. But what are the other successful stories that you people maybe have seen or you have heard about, and especially when it comes to our country, South Sudan?
I think the success stories are everywhere to be seen. First of all, a trending subject at the moment is as the South Sudan basketball national
Yeah,
team.
the Bright Stars.
They are the first success story that you can imagine, because if you go to the individual stories of every single one of those players, you will find that they experienced exactly what we are talking about right here.
Yeah.
They went through refugee camps, and even worse, they went through days of having no food, of walking barefooted to get to school,
Yes.
and all of these things. Yet they were able to walk through all of that, and now we are cheering them on as our national heroes. So the success stories are everywhere to be seen, including in the women's basketball as well.
Yeah.
We can talk about the story of Adud Bulgak.
Yeah.
She is a female. She worked really hard to be an international in basketball. She became so good at the sport that all the other foreign countries were offering her the chance to play for them, but she turned them down, and she said, you know what, my country is independent and they are going to need my services soon. And once South Sudan came calling, she came up, and she's doing all of that while also being a mother. So all of this is success stories that everybody out there can learn from, that it doesn't take anything away from a person. It doesn't make a woman less of a woman if she plays a sport. Instead, it makes her better at doing whatever she's doing, and it makes her become even more successful. And of course, there are so many success stories. Even Royadan's stories is also a success story, because she managed to convince her parents to let her participate in sports with her performances on the field. So I think you can look all over the country and you would see the success stories. I think the part that is missing is for the people out there to receive these success stories. And I'm sure there are parts of the country where these stories have not yet been heard, and that's where the work really needs to be put into, to make sure that everybody knows what is happening in the world at the moment, and in the country most importantly.
Okay, Rona, you want to add something?
Yeah, I'm just going to share a story of a little girl who is right now representing South Sudan in the Olympic, in athletics. She's a 20-year-old girl by the name Lucia Morris. This girl started running when I think, when I have not yet even started dreaming about becoming a runner.
Yeah.
And with her stories, her family was not that well with her, and there were a lot of challenges. Besides, she was in WOW, and to make it to the national team, you have to be in Juba, because this is where the main coaches are.
Yeah.
And for her, it was really difficult. But then, like how God makes ways, and with your passion and you're giving your best in all that you're doing, she managed to go for a camping in Uganda. So in Uganda, they always test to check you.
Yeah.
Have you improved, or you're still in your the same level? And she could do with different countries. It's not only Ugandans, because it's a camp place. There are different countries that come when they want.
Yeah.
So for her, 2019, that's when she started traveling a lot. 2019, she went to Japan. She was offered this scholarship of train there. She chopped school, there's no more school.
Yeah.
Her athletics is her career. She stopped in PA, that's what she told me. And she participated in a lot of games, even the recent, the previous Olympic. She took a part, and she did well. She did well, though she was not among the best of the best, but her records, because with the athletics, we work according to the records.
Yeah.
How fast have you improved?
The
And
improvement.
right now, to see her and to see her parents really thinking, I wish I could have allowed her long time ago to be part of her dream.
Yeah.
Because at the end of that's her dream up to now. If someone can just chop off school, and this is where they're feeling comfortable, because there's a passion, there's a zeal for it. So she's doing great. And I call it a successful story, because she's actually from the trash, all the way from the village. And because you love running, someone has seen that in you. But then to make it needs a lot of process. But see where she is right now. I think she'll be running. She'll be running 2 days from now. Yeah. She runs 200 meters and 100. And with her race, you always have to do the first to go for the semi-final.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she did her finals last week.
Okay.
Yeah. she's really good. She's great.
And imagine those are some of the success stories that people are undermining sport, and especially with us in South Sudan, like Nas Diamond Ganu Fikir Gal, Hagerema Biji Bugurush, well, Hagerema Bodita Kumgidan, like those are the stories that you people shared.
Yeah.
And maybe someone will be watching and they will get interest. But when it comes to people, not people, but cutting school,
Yeah.
and focusing on the
Sport.
on the sport. What do you think? Because like for us South Sudanese, we're also a little bit kita like bikengali madrasa bet madrasa.
Yeah.
Like if you're deciding now to take your career, some people are even being chased out of their homes because they chose to take a career
Yeah.
that doesn't make money now, but they're thinking
Yeah.
into the future. So I don't know, like what are your intakes in this?
I think school plays a very important role in sports,
Yeah.
because if you look at all the success stories that we have just mentioned, almost half of those people we are talking about got the experience or the exposure first from school. So it is important for kids to go to school, and it is a way, by the way, that the government can be able to enhance the development of sports by tapping into school, because almost every child goes to school.
Yeah.
There are those that are not so fortunate enough to be able to afford, but at least to the best of my knowledge, a good number of children go to school. So from there, they can they can get the exposure to sports, so the different sports disciplines. It could be running, it could be football, it could be basketball. All of it happens there, and if you show that you're good enough, the school can take a further step into developing you. So I think school plays an important role. It is until a level where maybe it becomes a holding
coaching
back factor.
Yeah.
That's when you can say, okay, I'll quit school. But I don't see that usually happening. It is very rare for school to hold you back from participating. On the contrary, if you look at the different regions, you have schools that are offering scholarships for university or even secondary for sportsmen, for sportswomen.
And even to add on that, like we have even seen some of the schools, they're having sport day, a specific day dedicated for sport, and people like you just showcase your talent, and maybe you will be picked for the school team. You go for inter-school competition. From there, for inter-countries competition, I have seen that as well. So like I feel like sport is really coming up.
Yeah, definitely. So just to make it clear to the parents out there, when your child participates in sports, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are abandoning education. They can actually pursue the two hand in hand, and they two go hand in hand very well. In fact, they complement each other very well. So I think there's nothing to be worried about there. I think sports will be enhanced by the development of education and vice versa.
Okay. Then you have mentioned about balancing. Now, you're a former athlete, right?
Yeah.
Now for you, Rona, like how do you balance between your education and sport? Because like maybe a parent will be saying like, yeah, I've heard you, I've heard the benefit. I know my kid maybe 10 years to come, 5 years to come, I'll be getting the benefit that he's doing whatever he's doing in the sport. But now for you, how are you going to be convincing the parents who are going to be listening or going to be watching you? How are you balancing yourself?
Well, to balance school and sport, you have to create a schedule and be intentional about your schedule. For instance, what I used to do when I was in school, I know in the morning I'm supposed to be in class. Coming back at this certain time, I'm supposed to be in the field for practice. So like what I usually do, I utilize every opportunity. Like when I'm at school, I make sure I give my best, because this is the only time that I have to do my academic stuffs. And when I'm in the field, I make sure, I've just cut off this time to do my other things. So I have to give my best. And then beside that, I used to prioritize. For instance, when it's now approaching my exams, I make sure I give more attention to school, because what's needed the most, the first hand. So I know that the exam, it's not going to take me like forever, but then also I need to come back on courts or maybe in the field. So I prioritize what I want at the moment. So I give more time for school when I'm almost to my exams, and later I come back to my hobby.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to add on that, I think athletes are known to push their bodies beyond the limit. So I think that can never be a problem, even if it means that you have to forego a school activity to partake in a sports activity.
Yes.
You will find a way to compensate that later on by pushing your body, either by going 2 hours into your sleep time. You know you will recover that. So I think that should not be a problem. And furthermore, I think parents and teachers can encourage and can play a big role in supporting these student athletes, to balance their work and their schoolwork, that is, and of course their athletic participation. So I think everybody has to play their role there, and there should never be a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, just to add on what he says, to our parents, education is not like the full success for us. It's just literally other 15% of the other things that you have to do outside.
That's for sure.
For instance, if you're not flexible, if your body is not used to, being fit and just be healthy, honestly, there's no way you're going to tell me you're going to make it through.
Yeah.
So it's also good to allow young people who has passion towards other hobbies to give their best at the moment. But beside that, education is not like the full success.
Okay.
That's what I can say. It's just a 15% of it.
Okay. Now, when it comes to you, then, like, what do you think about the ways that involvement of sport can develop someone's personality or even their character?
I think sports is a discipline that puts personal strength at the forefront. So you look at yourself as a human being and you say, what are my strengths and what are my weaknesses?
Yes.
And so I will capitalize on my strength as best as I can and try to minimize my weaknesses. That's the first thing. And it promotes the idea of respect for each other as athletes. So that makes a person a full human being. It teaches you not just how to behave around other people, but how to take a defeat or a victory, how to celebrate in a way that you will not offend the others that were participating in the race with you or in the sport with you, whatever the case may be. So sports has so many disciplines that you can learn from it just by participating in it, even without making it professionally. I know of so many people who play sports for just hobbies. They play basketball, pick up basketball because they like playing basketball, but then when you lose, you accept a loss as a loss, and you say the reason I did not win is not because so-and-so is not good at this, or it is because I did not put the right amount of effort that is needed for me to get a win. And so it encourages you to push yourself. So as far as developing the human character, I think sports plays a very big role. It goes a long way into teaching you how you can make friends and how you can behave around those friends in order to not offend them and in order to please them. So I think sports is very crucial in that area.
Okay. Rana?
Yeah, just to add on what my colleague has shared, sport exposes you to a lot to different things and to different places, to different people. So like it's actually build you up as a person who has dreams for your future. It molds you, because everything else you have to add on later starts from the confidence, the resilience, and also how you connect with people. For instance, when you're in a place, you don't have to just be lonely. This is what you're used to. So like after doing my things on that track, I go ask other players. For instance, if maybe I'd gone for a competition and there's this girl who does so well, and maybe I like her, how she runs and how she do her things. So I'll go and approach her and also like steal more knowledge, a little knowledge from her.
Yeah.
They say that to be the best, you need to learn from the best.
Yeah.
Exactly. So like it's exposed us to different things and to different people, and there's that connection that you find in sport, because sport is one thing that unites all of us.
That's for sure.
So like you find people who are bitter, people who are going through a lot, but still we come together and cheer up.
Okay. Now, when it comes to someone who is very unsure if they can turn their sport skills into career, what advice will you love to give them?
I think I touched on knowing your strengths and your weaknesses. In every sports, it is important to know where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, and so that you can work on the areas that you need to improve and maybe improve a little bit more on your strength, so that your strengths are impeccable and your weaknesses are not so weak anymore. So I think that's the first thing to knowing whether you will make it as a professional or not, because it's such an abstract thing, by the way, because we are talking about so many sports here, but every sports requires something different, and it is up to you as an individual to identify whether you have what it takes to make it professional in that sport. And my colleague talked of confidence. I think it's very important to be confident on your abilities. If you say I can make it, then now it is time for you to work towards you making it. I know of so many people who are told that, you know what, you can never make it. But then they said, no, I can make it because I have decided that I can make it, and they work towards making it, and they have made it. So it's all about knowing where your strengths are and working on where your weaknesses are, so that you become the perfect requirement for that particular sport that you want to participate in.
Okay. Rohana?
Yeah, just to add on to what my colleague has shared. So like for you need to identify the transferable skills that you have learned in sport, that you have gained in sport, and then know how to apply them to different careers, because we believe that sport actually builds us, and we learn a lot of skills from it. So identify what you have and know where to apply it, because life is just a wide thing. So like what you learn here, it might be what you need to learn next time, or what you have learned today, you must have to apply it in the next season. So that's it.
In a word of impossible that is possible, and this is what we are going to be leaving you with on our today's topic, is sport as one of the career opportunities. In a word of impossible, of course, there's possibility, and from me to you, keep training, keep striving, and you never know, tomorrow you'll be a bigger name in terms of sport, representing our beloved country. Until next time, keeping in mind that you are going to be one day someone who is succeeding in terms of sport. My name is Diko DeAndrew. This has been the Youth Pulse Podcast. Until then,
The Youth Pulse Podcast, speaking from our hearts.